Debbie, you taking minutes over there? Is that the deal?
Is this on?
Yes, it is.
Good evening and welcome to our August 30th Board of Selectmen meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll start with the reading of the agenda. We'll go over minutes of our August 2nd meeting. We'll move on to community relations, announcements, and open forums. We have 4 items under appointments and resignations. Item number 1, we have a police department assistant appointment. Item number 2 is a police per diem dispatcher. Item number 3 is a fire station building committee appointment. And number 4 is the Lakes and Ponds committee appointment. We have 3 scheduled appointments tonight. We have a 6:40 scheduled appointment for the Old Home Day Committee. We have a 6:45 for the swearing in of 4 new firefighters. We have a 7 o'clock appointment with the MSP Wives Club for a request to place blue ribbons in town. We have 5 items under new business. Number 1 is a 1-day special liquor license for a wedding. Item number 2 is a site plan application for Otis Lands Management. Item number 3 is a request for an auctioneer permit. Item number 4 is an open special town to open the special town meeting warrant. And item number 5 is the town administrator's review. Under old business, we have 1 item, and that's the fire personnel grant for 9 officers. We'll then move on to committee reports and board of selectmen policy reviews. Then we'll go to our town administrator's report, and then any other business unknown at the time of posting. Our next regular selectmen's meeting will be September 13th. Entertain the wishes of the board for our August 2nd meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move to
Mr. Singer? Thank you. Made a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the August 2nd meeting minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. And we will move on to announcements. Old Home Day will be celebrated on Monday, September 5th, with fireworks at the Overlook Masonic Home Road, at Masonic Home Road on Saturday, September 3rd at 9 p.m. Please visit townofcharlton.net for more information. The town hall will be closed on Monday, September 5th in observance of Labor Day. A message from the fire department. Each year, many fires that start out small end up causing hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages because someone was afraid or too embarrassed to call the fire department. During the early stages of a fire, your actions play a crucial role in the safety of your family and the amount of damage that occurs. Upon discovering a fire, you should sound an alarm, let the people in the area know that there is a potential for danger and that they should evacuate. Call the fire department even if the fire is small. For every minute a fire burns, it doubles in size. Small fires can grow quickly. Only after the first 2 steps have been completed should you try to extinguish small fires. The Charlton Fire Department is here to help you. Don't be afraid to call if we can help in any way, because in a fire, seconds count. Monday, September 5th to Thursday, September 8th, the Senior Center will be closed. Monday the 5th, the Senior Center will be closed for Old Home Day. Tuesday through Thursday will be closed so we can paint and put in a new carpet. No lunches or programs will be going on that week, however. The offices of the Director and Outreach will be open. If you have any information or need information or have any questions, please call 508-248-2231. The Open Space and Recreation Committee are in the process of updating its open space and recreation plan. Your participation in the planning process is very important to develop a plan that meets the needs of the Charlton residents. The surveys will take about 5 minutes to complete and can be accessed at townofcharlton.net's homepage. Paper copies of the survey can be picked up and returned to the Charlton Town Hall, the Charlton Library Circulation Desk, and the Charlton Senior Center. There will be a Charlton Flu Clinic on Thursday, October 6th from 10:30 to 12 o'clock at the Charlton Senior Center. So please make sure to have all your insurance cards with you. No insurance, no problem. Nobody will be refused a flu shot. And lastly, there will be a Household Hazardous Waste Day on Saturday, September 24th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Casella Waste Service Facility on 165 Barefoot Road in Southbridge. Does anyone else have any other announcements? Anyone here for open forum? Come on up.
Good evening. I'm Mike Mahan. I'm the Assistant Fire Chief for the Fire Department. I'd like to take a moment of your time to thank this board and the previous boards for the opportunity to work for the Charlton Fire Department. I joined the department 38 years ago in May of 1978 under Chief Merrill Carrington. It's hard to believe, but back then, the town did not own an ambulance. The firefighters formed an association, became incorporated, and provided a subscription service to the town. The ambulance service, the Charlton Ambulance Service Incorporated, sold our assets to the town in order to start full-time operations under a newly created ambulance department. I, along with Donald Stearns Jr. and Kerry Mason, were appointed on April 10th of 1989 as the town's first full-time firefighter EMTs under Selectmen Bob Brogna, Bob Bodette, and David Peters. 4 years later, the ambulance department was folded into the fire department under Chief Ralph Harris Sr. Today, under the leadership of Chief Cloutier, the town owns and operates 3 ambulances, 2 of which are at the paramedic level, and firefighting apparatus that continues to improve the services we provide to the town. I've been fortunate to be involved in the development of the department to these ends, and thank you and the townspeople for being supportive during my career. As you and many others know, I have satisfied my requirements for retirement on April 10th of this year and previously announced my last shift as being this Thursday. I want to thank you again.
Thank you for those very nice words. We'll definitely miss you. I would open up the rest of the board if anyone has any things they want to say. Mr. Swenson?
I do. Thank you. My time on this board, we've always been able to be extremely proud of the caliber of the firefighter EMTs we have in this town. We're very, very fortunate. I think back to when I first came to town, and it was still, the department was still getting its legs under it, and I might not always have said that back then, but now it's an extremely professional, extremely capable department. And I think Assistant Chief Mahan and the others that were the original members set that base and set that groundwork and set that bar for how the department would grow over the years, and under the leadership of our different chiefs, heralded that in. So I just appreciate, Mike, everything you've done for the town and for the department, and for you guys setting the bar as high as it is for what's expected and what we have for Charlton firefighters, EMTs. So thank you.
Hard to top that.
Yeah. Oof. Is anyone else here for open forum? Seeing not, we will move on to appointments, resignations. Item number 1, an appointment for the police department assistant. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Attached is a request from Chief Purvier asking the board to appoint Lisa Allen to the position of Department Assistant for the Charlton Police Department. Chief Purvier, Lieutenant Lewandowski, and Administrative Assistant Magdalena Patter conducted interviews for this position. Several applicants who applied for this position were interviewed, and Ms. Allen was the unanimous selection. Ms. Allen has been working since December 2016 as a temporary office assistant, and she has a strong work ethic, great office skills, and has been a true asset towards reconciling the past due accounts. I would recommend the board make the appointment as requested.
Thank you, Ms. Craver. What are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Swenson?
I move that the board appoint Lisa Allen to the position of Department Assistant for the Charlton Police Department.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to item number 2, an appointment for police per diem dispatcher. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Attached, please find a letter from Chief Purvier requesting to add 1 additional per diem dispatcher due to the current staff's inability to cover certain shifts on various days. In an effort to avoid the unnecessary payment of overtime, an immediate need exists to add the requested position. In reviewing the Charlton Police Department's current pool of per diem dispatcher applicants, Chief Purveyor interviewed and would recommend the appointment of Alexander Sinney. Mr. Sinney is certified in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as an emergency E911 dispatcher. He holds current certifications in CPR, first responder, CJIS, and emergency medical dispatch. He previously worked as a part-time dispatcher for the town of Douglas. In addition, he will be graduating in May of 2017 with a bachelor's degree in the field of criminal justice from Worcester State University. A complete background check and reference check was conducted and revealed that he has a clean record and a solid background and should be considered for the per diem dispatcher position for the Charlton Police Department.
Thank you, Ms. Craver. What are the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we appoint Alexander P. Sinney as the per diem dispatcher.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Seems very well qualified. Seeing no discussion, we'll move on to a vote on the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. Move on to item number 3, an appointment for the Fire Station Building Committee. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. At the board's July 12th meeting, you reinstated the Fire Station Building Committee at that time. At that meeting, John McGrath was appointed as the member from the public. You were asked to appoint Joe Habler as a member from a previous building committee. He was on the Library Building Committee and also served on the Highway Building Committee. And David Ryan as a member from an area fire department. The makeup of this committee is one member from a previous building committee, one member from the public involved in the building trade, one member from an area fire department, 2 members from the fire department, 2 members from the public, Chief Cloutier, Selectman Rick Swenson, and myself. Should the board make these appointments as requested, there will still be a need for 2 members from the fire department and 1 member from the public.
Thank you, Ms. Craver. What are the wishes of the board with appointing the 2 recommended people?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we appoint Mr. Joseph Habler and Mr. David Ryan as members to the Fire Station Building Committee.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion in 2 seconds. Any discussion? One thing I'll request is make sure we're advertising that one spot on cable, which I'm sure it is that on the website, so it's making sure that's up there. Well, if anyone's out there who's interested, please feel free to bring your name forward, be a part of a really, really important committee, finding a new fire department. So, any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 4, the appointments for the Lakes and Ponds Committee. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Attached is a talent bank form from Barbara Perone seeking to be appointed to the Lakes and Ponds Committee. The Lakes and Ponds Committee would ask the board to appoint her as well. She has been a great asset in helping them.
Thank you, Ms. Craver. What are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Singer?
I would move to appoint Barbara Perone to the Lakes and Ponds Committee.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. Now we'll move on to our 6:40 scheduled appointment with the Old Home Day Committee. Good evening, Ms. Walker. How are you doing?
Good evening.
It's almost Old Home Day, and I am excited.
So are we. This is Charlton's biggest, most fun event of the year. And so I'm really speaking for the committee. I'm grateful to all of you for giving us this time to tell you a little bit about Old Home Day this year. One thing that we hadn't done before that's new and special is having a concert on Sunday night at Overlook, and that'll be from 4 to 6. And so we'd encourage everybody to come up to Overlook and join that concert. Every town around here has a lot of concerts, so we wanted to add one in. I wanted to especially mention the award ceremony. Every year we give out awards for those citizens in town, a lot of them unsung heroines and heroes. And So it's a really important part of Old Home Day, and I'll just read you the list for this year. The Boston Post Cane Award, which has already been awarded, but he'll be there, is Howard Seaford, and Howard Seaford is 98 years old, and he'll be there to accept the award. From the Old Home Day Committee, the Charlton Selectmen, our 2 state reps, and our state senator. Our Citizen of the Year is Chief James Purvier. Our honorary parade marshal is Mike Mullally. We have 4 community service awards, 4, yeah. Bernice Stone Kerwin, Ray Jankowski, Adrian Bumpus, and Carl Ekman. We have a youth service award going to Chase Corville, who is also a member of our committee. And we have a posthumous community service award going to Sheriff John Mike Flynn. The business award this year is going to Michael Lindquist from Boomba's Towing and Recovery. So what I'd like to do, with your permission, is bring up a few other committee members to talk about some of the things that are going on. And I guess we can start with Jerry.
Actually, I'm not a committee member, but
Oh, okay, but come up.
If you want to come up.
the Old Home Day Committee was good enough to allow us to get new ramps for the soapbox derby. And we've got those, the plywood's on, they're all set to go. We're gonna paint them on Thursday. The old ramps were rusted out and the welds were broken. We're concerned about the safety of the kids. Then we're gonna have the tractor drags, so if anybody has a riding lawnmower wants to come in, that's gonna be at, I believe, 11 o'clock on Labor Day. And they're just plain old everyday tractors, so that's my piece.
Thank you.
Jerry is not a member of the committee, but he helps out considerably.
plays one.
So, and Rob Thomas?
Hi, my name is Rob Thomas. I'm the race director for the Old Home Day Road Race. This year happens to be the 50th annual race. It typically draws around 400 participants, and we're tracking. We've got about 260 already signed up for this year, and that's about the same as last year. Out of that 260, more than half are Charlton residents, which is awesome. And once, it'll end up being about 40% Charlton, 60% outside of Charlton who end up racing. Ages are from 8 to 74 is what I've seen so far for pre-reg, so it's quite a wide range. Also this year, this is the second annual coming up this year for the Kids Run, which is a one-loop race that the Mums Club of Southbridge and Charlton are sponsoring. And so that goes on after the Charlton Road Race. And the one other new thing we have this year is a bicycle race as well as going on. So it should be a lot of fun.
Mr. Thomas, a quick question. If
Yeah.
anyone wants to sign up for that, what's the best place to do that?
They can sign up at charltonsports.org. They can do that through Saturday night. They can also sign up the day of the race.
Thank you.
Okay.
And before Jenny comes up, I forgot to mention the frog jump contest. And
How could you forget that?
I know, it's totally unbelievable. Everybody's welcome to come to the frog jumping contest and sign up, any children from the ages of 3 to 14. And also, on Sunday afternoon, downstairs is the Charlton High School alumni. And that's any alumni, anybody that graduated from Charlton High School is invited to that. And Kathy Keel says you can just come in. And that's at what time? Charlton alum, it's at 1 to 3. Okay, I don't have my glasses. Thank you, they're right here. Okay, so Jenny Frizella.
Good evening. I'm also from the Overlook, and this year we're sponsoring, Old Home Day is sponsoring a concert at the Overlook, and it's the first time because this is our 120th, we wanted to do something different and something special. That's from 4 to 6 at the tower at the Overlook. It's going to be the New Bay Colony Band. And I'm also going to talk about the fireworks, which are on Masonic Home Road, where you can sit up on the hill and watch the fireworks that are at St. Joseph's Church. They'll be at 9 o'clock, but before that, we have a band, Mondo Sol, who's been doing it for years. And
Sounds familiar.
5 vendors, so you can come and eat. We have the Howard Hole, we have Suzy Q's Ice Cream, we have a novelty, and we have 2 scout troops, one doing onion rings and one doing fried dough.
Thank you.
And I'm proud to be a part of this committee.
And we just should mention that Rick Swenson is the Mondo Soul band leader.
The soul of Mondo Soul.
I would agree, but that's another discussion.
Thank you.
And Todd Gerard. We'll wrap this up.
So I get to discuss everything else that's going to go on Old Home Day. So we have a few things going on. We have Grizzly Adams photo booth. Grizzly Adams is one of our homeboys.
Is
Come
he
out,
back
get
at this
your-
event?
Yeah, he's going to be there at the event, so come on out, get your picture taken with Grizzly Adams. Down at the Federated Church, we have our annual flower show. It's really aesthetically pleasing to the eye. You might want to get on there and take a look at that. Inside the town hall is going to be an art and photo expedition. Come look at some of our local artists and see the talent that we have around town. The mediums that they produce the art in are fabulous. And you can vote and see who comes in for the best piece of art. But I think they're all winners. Myself, I'm an engineer, so not very talented in art. Train rides. We're going to have a train ride going around the common. It leaves every half hour. It's for the little kids. And we're going to be finishing off the day with a parade, which will consist of a doll carriage and bicycle decorating contest. A parade that has quite a few little venues in it with a lot of traveling bands and marching bands and things like that. On Monday, we also have karaoke. That's called Making Memories Karaoke from 11 to 1 in front of the library. And we're going to have Dan Clark, the singing trooper, from 2:30 to 3:30. So I believe that covers just about
That's
all
just
our
about it.
exempt.
We also have 70 vendors coming, and if there's a vendor out there that wants to come and can get the application in to this town hall before tomorrow afternoon, then we'll add them to the list. Oh, the raffle.
Yep, so we also have a 50-50 raffle. This year it's going to be normally we have a one-day raffle. This year it's a 50-50 3-day raffle. So do yourself a favor, come all 3 days, buy raffle tickets every day to increase your chances of winning the 50-50 raffle. Do we have anything else other than that?
I think that's it. Anything else? Whatever.
And I was just brought up that we may have a hot air balloon from Remax. That's going to be a very weather-dependent event. So if it's high winds, they will not have the balloon is also tethered to the ground. So if it's high winds, we won't have the hot air balloon, but if it's a normal, nice, calm Sunday day or sunny Monday day, we will have the balloon rides.
Thank you. A quick question. If anyone wants to find more information or look at any updates, what's the best place to find that?
On the website, the town website, you can just Google Charlton Old Home Day and it'll take you there.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, and we have brochures that are out on the table in the library and every place that we can think of.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you for all your hard work. You know, we know it takes a ton of effort to put this on, and
Yeah.
we really appreciate,
Yeah.
you know, all the members of the committee.
Well,
Hours.
It's a lot of fun.
it is a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs, really. We did mainly because of this guy.
I was
but
just gonna
anyway.
say, I can only imagine who's making everybody laugh.
Thank you very much, and thank you all again.
Thank you.
And now we'll move on to our 6:45 appointment with the swearing in of 4 new firefighters. And I'll turn it over to the chief. Chief Cloutier, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming over, allowing us to be here today. This is a great opportunity in the life of a firefighter, especially right at the beginning. So it sets the groundwork for some great things happening. So I'm pleased to announce that the Charlton Fire Department has hired 4 full-time firefighters. Their names are Ashley Belanger, Nick Donahue, Justin Moy, and Jeff Walcott. These positions were created due to the hard work of our town administrator, Robin Craver. She was very diligent on getting this thing to work for us and held a lot of meetings and got to talk about a lot of different people and a lot of different things, so I appreciate her work on this whole entire operation. She surely saw the need and believed in our department to make it work. The hiring team of the Captain Knopf and Fire Inspector Ciccarelli vetted out 83 applications that we received for this. I think that says an awful lot for the community as well. To receive 83 applications, I think is fantastic, and it says an awful lot about Charlton itself. Basically, through the scoring and minimum standards the applications possessed, the hiring process consisted of an extensive background check, an exam, an oral interview, medical evaluations, queries, and a tool that we call the organizational survey. All members accepted the job on July 10th, and their first day was August 1st. As in the past, the fire department has presented the new firefighters to the community. They are welcomed by the Board of Selectmen and sworn in by the town clerk. This is a huge step in the life of a firefighter. The badge that we wear in our uniform is a consistent reminder that we are a part of something much larger than ourselves. We all take part in this colorful history that makes up the fire service. It is my pleasure tonight, we will start one at a time with the pinning of each of the firefighters separately. And I'd like to start tonight with Ashley Belanger. Ashley's from Oxford, Massachusetts. She holds a certificate in firefighter 1-2 and is an EMT, and she's weeks away from receiving her paramedic license from the state of Massachusetts. Firefighter Belanger will be pinned by Captain Roger Lambert from the Oxford Fire Department.
Okay, if he pokes you, there's a lot of first responders here.
Do you want to turn around there?
Don't go too far away, all right? Just move over to there. You got it? All right. So next up, we have Nicholas Donahue of Thompson, Connecticut. He holds a certificate in firefighter 1-2 certification, and he's a paramedic license for the state of Massachusetts. Firefighter Donahue will be pinned by retired Chief Ralph Harris.
A long time since I had to come up here.
And we
I was
appreciate that,
still
Chief.
expecting it.
We appreciate that.
You haven't gone to sit
Yeah,
down
I was
yet.
just gonna say, Chief, Chief Clutie has been doing a fine job.
Sure. We have a variety. I'll hit that at the end. Our next firefighter is Justin Moy. He's from Chelmsford, Massachusetts. Justin holds a certificate in firefighter 1-2 as well. He's also an EMT for the state of Massachusetts. He is planning on attending paramedic school in the spring of 2017. Justin will be moving to the town in the future and is looking for a nice place to settle down, so if you guys know of anything on the list. Justin will be pinned by his mom, Catherine Moy.
real shirt. Oh, okay, there you go.
Just leave it hanging, that's fine, it doesn't need to lift right now.
No? Okay.
Last but not least, it is my pleasure to introduce call firefighter Jeffrey Walcott from Charlton. He holds a certificate in firefighter 1-2 and is EMT, and he's planning on attending paramedic school also in the spring of 2017. Firefighter Walcott will be pinned by Captain Dean Babineau. Now, if I could just have all four firefighters come up to the front, and also our town clerk to do the official swearing in, please.
We're not important.
Raise your right hand. Do solemnly swear to uphold the duties of the office to the best of your abilities. Justin? Yep, congratulations.
So Ms. Craver asked the question of why the different people to have pinned by certain members of their family or someone of great prominence. They basically feel that a lot of the firefighters, especially when we go through our career, a lot of it is in our nature to be in our own homes and through relatives. Because when you join the fire service, you join the fire service as a family. And whenever you join a organization like this, it's great to have family members around you and surrounded by you. Some of them understand our situations, understand our efforts by other folks that are in the fire service. So when you're pinned by another member of the fire service, it's really a special occasion. And of course, whenever you get a chance to get pinned by your mom, that's pretty cool too. So that's pretty much the significance of that, and maybe the people that made a difference in someone's lives, and these folks here do it every single day. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Swenson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to say that I kind of get the sense of almost like the passing of the baton here, if we could. And we're honored to have retired Chief Harris Sr. here tonight. Ralph, it's great to see you again, and you're looking well and tanned, which is great to see. And with the retirement of Assistant Chief Mahan at the same evening as we're bringing on pinning four new firefighters. It's a day to the new firefighters. I'd say welcome to town, congratulations. We're honored to have you here. And as I said a minute ago, the original crew that formed the department and the chiefs and members that have followed have set the bar very high. So there's some big shoes for you guys to fill, but we have no doubt that you're more than up to the challenge. So welcome to town.
Most definitely.
Thank you. Mr. Singer?
Just a quick message for the 4 new firefighters. There are a lot of wonderful first responders all over the state of Massachusetts, and residents of other towns may say differently, but I will tell you there's a reason so many people, and you heard the number, applied for those positions. Because Charlton's first responders are not Charlton's finest, they're Massachusetts' finest. So you literally just joined what is, in my opinion, the greatest, best first responders in the entire state, if not New England. You're now among those. So just congratulations and good luck on this chapter of your life, because you are now part of the best of the best.
And you have 2 brand-new fire engines to.
You're like Peyton Manning.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Mr.
Did
McGrath?
want to make one more
Oh,
announcement.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'd just like to say one thing. I know the chief thanked the board and thanked the town administrator. I think we left out two groups that need to be thanked. The townspeople, the taxpayers, need to be thanked for stepping up at the town meeting and funding these positions. They know how much we rely on the fire department and the police department, but they saw a need there. Also, we need to thank the finance committee, because they, along with the chief and the town administrator, put a lot of due diligence into how we were gonna make this work for everybody. So, thank you.
Thank you. That's my last paragraph, but that's okay. That's perfect.
Stole your thunder again. Speak up first.
Stole a copy of your notes.
I tried. But I do also would like to make one more announcement also, and it's that Captain Knopf is going to be, it's been announced today that he is going to fill Assistant Chief Mahan's shoes. He is being moved up to Assistant Chief starting September 2nd. September 2nd, he will be taking over in the Assistant Chief role. So a lot of big doings today and a lot of big doings for our organization, and a lot of good things to come. So I appreciate it, and thank you for your time tonight.
Could we give Captain Knopf a statement? Congratulations.
Thank you again for everyone who came out. This is just an awesome sight to see so many people come together for such a great event. Congratulations again to everyone who's on board. Thank you again for everyone who's stepping down, and thank you for everyone stepping up. So this is probably the best part about this job, is to see this and be a part of this. So thank you, and thank you for making this moment very special. So with that, we'll move on to our 7 o'clock appointment and lose about everyone in the room. For the MSP Wives Club, a request to place blue ribbons in town.
Just give them a minute.
I don't know.
It was nice to have so much support.
I'm sorry. She's gonna hit me now. But, wow, you're gonna hit me quick.
They can watch it on TV at home.
I know, they're like, wow, I'm done.
They need to celebrate.
Seeing as everyone else is going.
Jerry, there must be a bill
Did you
coming
get the
or something.
card where
Everybody-
the hospitality room is?
What? No invitation to the after party?
Ms. Kramer, do we have our 7 o'clock appointment?
I don't see them here.
Well, we'll...
Maybe we could wait? Or they could be in the hall. Let me take a look.
They get caught up in the mass exodus.
Yeah, swapped out.
Right? Truly, I hope they realize they really did just get into probably the greatest.
No question about that.
We appreciate everything that they do the best.
Okay.
In the meantime, we'll set the
So-
stage.
We have received a request from Lori Lamford, member of the Massachusetts State Police Club, Women's Club, to meet with the board to request permission to hang blue ribbons throughout the town to show support for all law enforcement. We've scheduled that for 7 o'clock. So I believe that Lori is here.
Ms. Lanford, if you want to come up and just state your name for the record. And you
So with all that's been happening with law enforcement lately, with the tragedies with Trooper Clardy and Officer Tarantino, we had formed a women's wives club to help support our husbands in law enforcement. And right now, you may have seen on TV or in the news, we're trying to cover the state of Massachusetts in blue ribbons in support of Mass State Police, local police, police all over the country. So Auburn actually just did it today, so they are covered. And I am asking for permission that some of the Charlton Mass State Police wives be allowed to show our support for Charlton Police, Mass State Police by hanging ribbons around town.
Mr. McGrath?
Since I travel widely over a large area of the state, I've seen some of the handiwork, Sturbridge State Police Barracks, the Weston State Police Barracks, the Millbury State Police Barracks. And it is a good reminder for the public, because my son's a police officer, number one. Number two, we just take for granted the work that these people do. We as selectmen don't take for granted because we know what they do. But the townspeople and the citizens of Massachusetts do take for granted until there is a time of need. And I think it's just a good thing to remind everybody that they are always there.
Thank you. Mr. Singer?
Mr. McGrath is right on the money. I don't, there are a lot of great causes. To me, this is among the best reasons we could have to paint the town blue with ribbons. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, plaster the town blue. You know, there's not enough you can say for what they do every day. So, if there's anything we can do, I mean, and anything you guys ever want to do, I think, again, to help promote awareness for law enforcement, I'm all for it.
Thank you for coming forward and, you know, everyone in the group to come up and step up for this. Where in town did you particularly think about placing these ribbons?
I'd like to do the gazebo out front and the trees on the common, possibly the Charlton Events wooden, outside the police department on their sign. I don't know how far we are allowed to go as far as telephone poles, or, you know, I would go to Ted's and ask Ted if we could hang some on
Right.
his sign.
I would just caution because I wouldn't go on private person property, you know, and hang something without permission, but
We both want to go again. John can go
Yeah,
first.
I'll let you
Mr.
go
McGrath?
first, Dave. Go ahead.
Mr. Singer?
I was just gonna say, y'all can make your comments, but I'm ready to just make a motion to allow them to put blue ribbons anywhere they want in the town of Charlton. Anywhere they want. Any roads.
Mr.
I'm
Swenson?
fine with that.
Well, I'm just going to make a comment. I mean, I applaud the efforts as well. Thank you for doing that. I think the best bet would be to have Ms. Lamford work with Kurt Meskis as the sign enforcement officer and just make sure where you want to put them is clear. He'd be a good source for you to let you know if there are places you shouldn't go.
I'll second that. David's motion.
Well, hold on.
I
Ms.
just-
Graber, do you have something to say?
I just have a question. I'm the process person.
Yes.
So the process person has that. I'm just wondering how long you're planning on keeping them up and if they will be taken down or if they will be, what is your plan?
Who, myself, and I know there's at least 2 other wives that live in Charlton, will be doing it together. And I'm gonna tell them whatever ones they put up, remember, we're gonna take them down. I don't know, you can give us a time frame when you would want them down. I know I overheard the news report today. Apparently, we were looking at before it snows, but I don't know how long those ribbons are gonna stay looking pretty. So we could pick a date and I will make sure they're down as of that date.
Mr. Singer?
I was just gonna make a suggestion. I one who would like is to leave them up 365. Obviously, if there are rules and she has to work with Jerry, I'm glad we have a motion in a second to let them put it wherever they want and work with Jerry and Kurt where they can go. But I would hope, and I think I've thrown this out before about those GoFundMe pages, you know, to help maybe raise the money for the ribbons. Because if you do take them down from where, I'm hoping you're gonna put them back up again. And if you have to come back before the board again, we'll be the first one to say, go ahead. But to replenish them, because if you did, winter they get beaten up and everything else, you know, I'd love to see them go back up again in the spring.
And I will bring that to the attention of the Wives Club and see if that's the plan. I'm not sure what the plan is right now.
Mr. Swenson?
I would like to offer an amendment to the motion.
I wanted to clarify, is there a motion? I was not clear if there's
I
a
made a
motion.
motion to allow the Mass State Police Club to place the blue ribbons anywhere along any roads in town they want, and Mr. McGrath seconded the motion.
Okay.
My amendment would be with the caveat that it's under the consultation of the sign enforcement officer and the highway superintendent, that they work together and determine the best places. And I secondly would put on a time frame of October 31st. That's 2 months before the weather gets really kind of nasty. That's 60 days. I think the point can be made. And if your group decides, we can certainly revisit it when the weather breaks in the spring and do another round if we want to do that.
And it'll give a good opportunity to coordinate. I would love to see them everywhere. You know, we talk about different private, friends, family, different houses and different establishments. I'm sure, a nice bloom of blue would be beautiful. But we have an amendment, a motion to amend. Do we have a second for that amendment?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the amendment to the motion. We'll discuss that motion, discuss the amendment. Is there any discussion on that?
No, just if it could be any blue ribbon, or if you have a certain type of blue ribbon, I'd like to put one on my street.
I have one in my yard. The easiest thing I've found, believe it or not, is the tablecloths from the dollar store. Royal blue tablecloth.
You just tie it around the tree?
I wrapped it around the tree a couple times, tied a pretty bow. I
I'm
know
not the best-
otherwise.
I'm not the best bow tire,
I'm not
but.
So,
I might give that joke to
we'll
your
keep
daughter.
discussion
My
on
father-
the
You
amendment.
hold your finger here, and I got.
My father got his staple gun out when we put it on his tree, so we tied a bow and he was.
So any
saving
more
my-
discussion on the amendment to the motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on the amendment. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. A discussion on the newly amended motion. Ms. Lanford, would you want to provide a point of contact, email and/or phone number for the public if they want to get in touch with you, how to coordinate with this?
Can do that. I mean, I've thrown it out on my personal
Yeah.
page.
Maybe speak offline with the town administrator or his selectman's office to put a notification on the town's website.
Okay.
Okay? Any further discussion on the amended motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, who do I need to consult with? The names
Yeah.
that you
She can point you to the highway superintendent and the building commissioner. Those would be the two, unless.
Let me go get
tell me
her
if
a
I
card.
Should be speaking out of turn, but.
Thank you
Those would be
very
the two.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you and good luck.
Thanks.
Thank your husbands too, please.
Yes.
And with that, we'll move on to new business. Item number 1 under new business is a one-day special license request for a wedding, and I'll read the memorandum.
He's moving ahead without the town administrator.
We're adults here, we can handle it. Attached is a request from Amanda Fleming and Eric Foonmayer for a special one-day liquor license for wine and malt beverages to be used on Saturday, September 10th, 2016, from 2:30 p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. at the Joslin Center at 150 Richardson Corner Road for their wedding. This request has been approved by the building commissioner, fire department, and police department. Per the board's policy, the license, if approved, should be issued for 2 additional days for the following reasons. Day 1, to allow delivery of alcohol to establishment where no sales will be allowed. Day 2, for sales on the approved date and time as listed. And day 3, to allow for pickup of any unused alcohol, once again, no sales allowed. I'd recommend the board approve the special license as requested with the dates of license to be September 9th to September 11th, 2016.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Singer.
I would move to approve the license with the dates and all of the stipulations specified in the announcement.
Thank you, well said. We have a motion and a
Second.
and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. And with that, we'll move on to item number 2, site plan application for the Otis Land Management LLC. Ms. Craver.
Yes, sir. Attached is a site plan application submitted to the planning board by Burton Engineering on behalf of Otis Land Management LLC, Mr. Ralph Nichols, to amend a previously approved site plan in order to develop a business park, which would include a 9,000 square foot building, a 20,800 square foot warehouse, a 9,600 square foot oil bulk storage building, and a 30,400 square foot commercial self-storage facilities, on 12.69 acres parcel located at 4 Sturbridge Road. The planning board is asking for you to review the site application and forward any comments no later than Wednesday, August 31st.
Thank you. Are there any comments by the board?
John, where's this
It's
lot?
directly across from Route 169 where all the trees are cleared off of it.
Oh, that's,
Right there.
Do you know what's being amended and added to it? Is it what's listed here, or is it something else?
It was approved as a BEP, Cindy?
Yes, and I
How
believe
long
the
ago?
size of the buildings were smaller.
Correct. And there were more buildings.
This is the planning
oh,
expert side of the
that's
board.
why I asked that.
So what happened was, we approved it as a BEP, and I can't remember the participants in it, but Otis Land Management was one of the partners. Now it appears that Otis Land Management has taken it over themselves, and they've come to the conclusion they're gonna move their business, some of their businesses there. And so they're gonna be, expanding their.
So it's the same type of facility, it's just the size and.
Yeah, he
size
changed
of
the size of the buildings. 12,014 was the largest building last time. Now there's one at 28,000.
it. Gotcha.
So,
Thank you. Yep.
any comments by the board? Any additional comments we want to send to them? I know this does not have to do with any solar panels, so I'm just saying.
Really? We're
He's
going
in the
there.
fossil fuel business.
Which is like the opposite. All right, thank you. And with that, we'll move on to item number 3 under new business, a request for an auctioneer's permit. Ms. Craver?
Yes, Linda Lamchett has requested an auctioneer's permit on behalf of the Quinnebog Valley Singers to be used on Saturday, September 17th, at the Charlton Baptist Church on Hammond Hill Road from 6 to 9 for a fundraising event. This request has been approved by the Police, Fire, and Building Commissioner. I would recommend the board approve the request, and the cost for the permit is $50.
Thank you. What is the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we issue a auctioneer's permit to Linda Lambrecht for Saturday, September 17th, for an auction to be held at the Charlton Baptist Church.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion, Mr.
Discussion.
Swenson?
My thought would be that perhaps the license should be issued to the Quinnebog Valley Singers as opposed to Linda herself.
Do we have to do it to
Amend
one person, or do we have to do it to the entity?
If she's,
We can-
my concern would be if she's not doing the auctioneering herself.
Yeah. Print applicant's name, put full name. No, the applicant is her.
But the issue the permit on behalf of Quinnebog Valley Singers.
All right, one way or the other.
We can do it,
Only in business.
we can put both names
Linda Lambrecht and Quinnebog Valley
Yeah.
Singers.
as doing business as.
DBA.
Would you amend your motions seconds accordingly?
I will.
All right, they have been amended accordingly. Any discussions on the amended motion?
I just find it amazing that we're charging a permit fee for an auctioneer. That's all.
Noted. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. And I would comment, Mr. Singer, if definitely something to think about if, for future goals and objectives, is look at maybe our policies for licenses. That might be a good.
I agree.
So, but we'll handle that at a different time. With that, we'll move on to item number 4 under new business, to open our special town meeting warrant. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. A special town meeting has come upon us. Attached is the proposed calendar, which has you opening the warrant tonight and the meeting to be held on Tuesday, October 18th. We have confirmed the date is available with the school, town council, moderator, and I believe the town clerk has also agreed. The calendar has you closing the warrant Tuesday, September 12th. Tonight, if you have no revisions, we ask you to approve the special town meeting calendar and open the warrant. I had a department head meeting August 3rd where I asked them to begin the process with their boards and committees. To date, I anticipate that there may be personnel bylaw proposals, zoning bylaw changes, and capital requests. I will have a preliminary list for you at your next meeting. As usual, if the departments want a warrant article, and do not have the exact wording, I will encourage them to request a placeholder so that appropriate language can be developed.
Thank you, Ms. Graver. What are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Swenson.
I move that we approve the calendar for the Fall Town Meeting for FY 2017.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Any discussion on approving the calendar? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then we'll entertain a motion to open the warrant.
So moved.
Second.
A motion second to open the special town meeting warrant. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. I can't believe it's time for town meeting again. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 5 under new business, the town administrator's review. And I'll take it away. So, I believe everyone should have a copy of the report that I typed up, which I have in front of you.
Yes.
I'll read from that. So thank you all again for completing your FY 2016 Town Administrator Review. I reviewed all of your reviews and compiled your evaluations. Below is a summary of the results and any interesting trends and notable comments. As you are aware, and this is for our viewers at home and viewers in the audience, 7 categories were posed to evaluate town administrator's performance for FY 2016, and those include board relations, financial management, general management, community relations, interdepartmental relations, and completion of her Board of Selectmen FY 2016 goals and objectives. You were asked to assign a number from 1 to 5 for each of those categories, where 1 indicates an unsatisfactory rating, a 2 indicates the town administrator needs improvement in that area, a 3 indicates a satisfactory or acceptable performance, a 4 indicates a strong performance, and a 5 indicates an excellent performance, or a performance that is highly commendable. I'm happy to say overall, the town administrator scored an average of 4.5 across all categories by all selectmen. Ms. Graver received a score of 4 or 5 in every category, with the exception of only 1 score of 3. That's 35 different data points, so only 1 was a 3. And once again, Ms. Graver did not receive any scores indicating less than satisfactory performance. Ms. Graver's strongest category was in financial management, with a perfect average of 5 across, again, by all selectmen, which indicates a very highly commendable performance. Selectmen noted that the town administrator's role in the successful Exxon Mobil negotiations, balancing the FY16 budget and being very successful with many different grants, including the Municipal Building Accessibility Grant, contributed to that. Ms. Graver's weakest category was in interdepartmental relations, but still scored an average score of 3.8, which is far above satisfactory, and it was a strong performance. On a positive side, Selectmen noted that dedication to attending other boards and department meetings, offering assistance to help with other boards, were really valuable assets that she provided. Some selectmen noted previous and current trouble with certain relations between certain boards, but also recognized marked improvements, especially with the Board of Health and Economic Development. A couple common weaknesses that were identified by some members included morale and interdepartmental relations, but these critiques were tempered with praise that the town administrator had been working with these issues and has shown a lot of improvement. One common theme throughout the evaluation was the above satisfactory performance of town administrator in the eyes of the board. We all gave her very high marks and we were very proud. One selectman cited that this may be one of her best years as town administrator for Charlton. Another said her performance and commitment to the town has been exceptional. The Exxon Mobil negotiations and settlement have been cited multiple times and contribute to this very highly favorable review for the completion of the Board of Selectmen goals and objectives, the general management and financial management. Again, thank you for completing your evaluations. Your evaluations will be submitted with these minutes and can be reviewed as part of the minutes. So,
Thanks, Joe.
What?
Tabulating it.
oh, no problem. I will open up to the rest of the board if they have any comments, specific comments, or anything you want to say. Mr. Swenson?
Thank you. This is a valuable process that we go through. I think this is a necessary tool and is very valuable. We can learn as a board from it. The town administrator can learn from it as well. I think there are things that don't come to light through this process, though, that I think bear mentioning. And having served previous to this year, the past 3 years as chairman, we're working extremely closely with Ms. Graver And Joe, I'm sure you're already seeing, you get a different perspective as chair. And I can't state strong enough how fortunate I think this town is to have Ms. Craver as our town administrator. I've said many times when we've talked about employees in this town that it amazes me that people don't live in this town have that much dedication towards the welfare of the town. And I don't, maybe we can say that starts at the top, but either way, Ms. Craver has shown an incredible amount of dedication to this town, and I think we've benefited greatly before that. You did mention the ExxonMobil negotiations, and
It's amazing.
it was,
Amazing work.
having been to, I couldn't begin to count how many meetings were had regarding that. But ExxonMobil sent in their lawyers from all over the country, and they bullied and strong-armed and threatened and coerced and did everything that you'd expect a team of ExxonMobil lawyers to do. And Ms. Craver went toe-to-toe with them and didn't back down an inch. And it took longer than any of us wanted, but in the end, we got, just speaking for myself, we got more than I thought we were gonna get. And I think that's testament to her perseverance and her willingness to stand up to them and not be willing to settle for less. Then just the other thing I would like to say is that one other thing that isn't reflected in here is I think she has a great ability to think outside the box and look at things from different perspectives. And I'll go back to, just as the first example that comes to mind is in the ExxonMobil negotiations with the thought to contact Erin Brockovich. I never would have thought of that, but the fact that brought a presence in the press and awareness to the community and got them to raise their eyebrows a little bit, I think was great. And if I sat here and gave it some thought, I could think of numerous occasions where she would be facing a situation and she'd come up with an approach that I never would have thought of. So while there's always areas that can be improved, I've been doing my business for 30 years. I know I have areas that I can improve on. That being said, I would just like to say thank you, and I think the town is extremely fortunate to have Ms. Craver as our town
Absolutely blessed.
administrator.
And you know, I want to stress that every member up here, and I want to speak on your behalf, but from what you submitted is, Ms. Craver, you've done an exceptional job. And you know, working with you for over 6 years now, most of the public do not see the late hours that you put in, you know, where you stay until 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock getting things done. And coming in, you know, even when the town hall's closed, you know, coming to these meetings, preparing for these meetings, going to finance committee meetings, all these meetings, it's just, and even attending public events regularly, and for someone who doesn't live in town, it sure does feel like you do, and your dedication to town really shines through, and I'm very proud to have you as our town administrator.
Thank you.
I just want to say one thing.
Mr. McGrath?
Since I gave one of the lowest marks on one thing, and the lowest mark is average, I think that speaks very highly of Ms. Craver.
Absolutely.
She is a very, very strong work ethic, as everybody has brought up. She has a very professional methodology that she uses. In the area that she got the 3 in, she is working at trying to, you know, anything that I brought up when I was doing my review with Ms. Craver was, well, what can I do better? You know, even though she received, you know, fours and fives from me, she was asking, what can I do that's better? So that, you know, bodes to her personality and her work ethic and how she wants to be the best at the job. So that's all I say.
Absolutely, and just to reiterate, you know, out of all 7 questions from all 5 selectmen, that's 35 different point of evaluations, only 1 should receive average. Each other one was either a strong performance or an excellent or highly commendable performance, and that's amazing. And you know, she put in the effort and she earned this.
Don't want her head to get too big.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Yep, any other board members like to speak, make any additional comments? Ms. Craver, would you like to say anything?
I'm kind of speechless. I've never gotten one like this before. Thank you. I appreciate that you appreciate the work that I've done. I see it as an honor to serve the town of Charlton. This isn't just a job. It's a career, and I do take a lot of pride. So I appreciate that you recognize that. I do agree that I like to try and think out of the box. I will say that that was not my idea, but I did run when somebody made an off-cuff comment about it, so, with Aaron Brockovich. So I
I'm in the
have to
music
give that
business. There are no original
to
ideas
Deb
anymore.
Chigrini saying, why can't we get her
Yeah.
here, and going, I think we can. So, you know, it's, a lot of the things that you've said, I've been able to do because of the staff that we have here, and it is not me. I feel privileged. You have hired a great staff. The people who work here are dedicated. I would wholeheartedly second what you said, Mr. Singer, about having the best here in Charlton, because I don't think it is an average town. I think that this is a above-average town in the state, and that all of our staff is like that, and we have a lot of people here to be proud of. So I appreciate that you continue to reappoint me, and that I get to work with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Craven. Mr. Doble, if you want to come up.
I'd just like to say as Finance Committee that I hardly agree. Without Robin, it would be much more difficult to get all this done, and she brings all kinds of good information and numbers we need. So I just want to agree that I appreciate your work and what you do here, so.
Thank you.
And I believe Ms. Craven will be penned by Chief Cloutier.
So, any other comments, praise, criticisms?
No, all right, I'm going to make one last one.
Oh,
you had to go there.
You should have quit while you were ahead. Just say, you mentioned that, you know, she attends all these meetings and does all that, and I obviously agree, it's a fact. I'm sure there are people that are sitting at home that say, well, she makes a whole big bag of money, she should. And that's a legitimate stance to take. My point was more to the intangibles that go beyond that. You know, the hours put in, which are, you know, extraordinary enough as it is. The same thing, I'm out riding my bike on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning, and it's not unusual to see a car here, but, you know, I think you could make the case that, well, that's part of the job that goes with it, which is legitimate, but, you know, what I want to make sure we recognize is the intangibles, the things that go beyond that, that I think set it apart. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. With that, we'll move on to old business, for the fire personnel grant for 9 officers. Ms. Graver?
Fire Chief Cloutier, oh my goodness. Fire Chief Cloutier provided you with information on the Fire Safer grant, and is here to speak with you regarding that. At your August 2nd meeting, the board voted to sign the letter of governance for the grant, and if we are awarded the grant, that the board meet with the Finance Committee within 14 days of award and have a decision made within 21 days whether we can keep the 5 employees. The Finance Committee has a meeting posted for Wednesday, tomorrow night. We have posted this board as well, just in case you wish to meet with them at that time.
Thank you, Ms. Craver. I'll open it up to Chief Cloutier and now soon-to-be Assistant Chief Knopf to release it to set the table.
Thank you again for seeing us again this evening about the SAFER grant. We were awarded the SAFER grant on August 12th. It has been awarded to us. We have basically until September 12th to give them an answer of which way we're going to go with that. At this point now, I've been calling Washington to no avail to get a telephone call back, unfortunately, because I do have a couple of questions that will probably come up tonight that we go through. The grant is for 9 firefighter EMTs for the town. When we wrote the grant back in February and March of this year, 2016, we ended up, of course, being successful in May to receive the 4 firefighters that we just appointed this evening. So that was a great thing. Right now, we're trying to figure out from Washington to find out if we're allowed to include those folks into the grant itself. then that would give us an additional 5 other firefighters that we would put on through this grant, which would be a total of 9. In early 2016, we basically ran 4 shifts with 3 firefighters around the clock. And that staffing model was also enhanced by having a full-time fire inspector Monday through Friday to give us 4 people during the day. By this, adding the 4 personnel, like we've talked about, we'll actually put a person on every single group. That brings our 4 groups to 4 personnel. And our fire inspector can then focus on fire inspector work that he needs to do. And also, he then also comes down to the floor on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We are not filling the nighttime overtime shifts. Right now, we're dropping down to 3 people in the evenings. So that works out okay for us. We're trying to get that to work. Obviously, it would work better if we had 4 full-time personnel around the clock and such. If we were to accept the grant, it would give us 5 personnel per shift. Right? And that would be basically an officer as a lieutenant or a captain on the shift. It would then also give us 4 working firefighters on that shift. We could drop down during the daytime operations to 4 people in case of vacation time or overtime, and we could probably even drop down to 3 again for vacations overtime at night, although recommended to be at 4. The reason that we scored so high on the grant is because the grant spelt out how we could meet NFPA, National Fire Protection Association's recommendation of 1710 of having the personnel that we need for the size of the community, and also be able to handle calls on an efficient basis. There's been plenty of studies out there, which we talked about back in the beginning of this year here, about the NIST program and how the National Institute of Standards ends up putting together those testings that 4 firefighter person groups are much more efficient, and 5 firefighter person groups is much more efficient than 3 firefighter groups or 2 personnel. There's basically 22 essential tasks that need to be taken care of at every single structure fire. And like my memo said this morning about this, it seemed like this morning, but it was only a couple hours ago, about call 911 right away in case of an event. The fire does grow that quickly, very, very fast. So those 22 essential items, includes rescue, includes fire suppression, includes the whole entire component of operations for the fire service. By doing the 22 essential tasks, it's done efficiently with 5 personnel, less efficient all the way down. And then at the testing that they did, they had 2-person engine crews. They did not accomplish all 22 tasks. So this is the National Institute that actually drove the testing, and those are really the behind the scenes that we've all agreed to, that bringing on the 4 full-time personnel like we did tonight will enhance our system already. What we're looking to do is to, of course, the fire department with Captain Knopf wrote the grant for us. Again, $1.7 million, trying to bring our staffing levels up to 5 persons per shift, and then also putting on a deputy chief. The deputy chief would then also run operations, day-to-day operations as well, and assist the chief with the day-to-day operations of the department. So that's really kind of where we are at. Some of the things that the grant does include, and it includes the PPE, it includes their turnout gear, personal protective equipment, it includes that inside the grant. That's pretty much about a $2,700 per person for our gear that we use nowadays. That's included. It does not include their contractual $950 for their clothing allowance. It does not include that. If we were to go for all 9 personnel, basically the 4 that we have plus 5, excuse me, it would be $8,500. We need to do something with that in October anyway, which we will be talking about later on. Let's see. I believe that with the 4 personnel that we believe that The platform that we basically said was gonna be a reduction in overtime, which we believe is gonna be about 50% reduction in overtime. And with the, and also an increase in revenue. We've already noticed an uptick in our transfer work out of Harrington Hospital. We've already seen that coming through over the last couple of weeks that these 4 full-time firefighters have been on. We've been doing more transfers, which of course equates to more revenue. I expect that if we were to put on the 9 full-time firefighters, the 4 that we have plus the 5, would end up reducing our rate, our overtime rate down to about 80%, because we wouldn't have to fill some shifts during the day as well. So that would be a benefit to to the community. Over the last couple of months, over the last fiscal year, our ambulance revenues are up over $1 million. It's a 39% increase from 2015. A 39% increase and $1 million on a $1.4 million budget, bringing $1 million back into the community. We're running a fire department for $400,000, or just about. I don't know any community that's actually doing that right now. I think we are doing a fantastic job with a lot of that. We're already up 8% of our call volume as we were last year. We've already done 1,441 calls, not including the 2 that have happened since I ran these numbers this afternoon. And so consequently, 1,441 is where we're at. A lot of people don't realize that we've already done 1,400 calls in this town. But Rick alluded earlier to me in a conversation that he's moved his office, and now he can't believe how noisy it is because the siren's going by all the time. So, it's very understandable. Let's see. Those are some of the things that we've done. We've also included the OPEB, which includes, in the grant itself is included, the Worcester County retirement is included in there. The medical is included there. Insurance and life insurance is included in it. Their Medicare is included, and also workers' compensation insurance is also included in that component, in the grant itself. The unemployment benefits, if at the end of 2 years, is not included in there. And I was able to run some numbers with Monica at our treasurer's office, and basically $12,500 that we would have to pay for every single one firefighter that we ended up laying off. That's at their $963 a week payment and everything for what they receive in there. It works upon their hourly rate and also their dependents as well. We only have to pay that for 6 months, and the total of that 6-month period is $12,550 and such. So that was the other thing that I know that we talked about and we were concerned about. So basically, right now we've added $120,000 into our line item for wages for the 4 personnel that we have, expecting the reduction of overtime, and have the $120,000 fix that deficit of the 4 people. We believe that it's probably going to cost, if we were to hold all 9, basically the 4 we have plus the 5, it's basically going to cost about $800,000 a year to maintain those personnel. And that's including benefits. That's not just the wages itself.
I'm sorry, Chief, could you repeat that?
$800,000 per year to hold all 9 personnel.
And how much of that would be covered by the grant?
If we were to, so this is after the grant is completed. We have the grant for 2 years. After the grant is completed, we need to come up with that $800,000 in 2 years to try to figure out how that's going to happen.
Thank you. And first, Chief, thank you so much for all the work you put into this, Captain Knopf. Thank you again for hitting a home run with this. You're like the Mookie Betts of grants, so
Yeah.
Thank you so much. One of the biggest things that really jumps out to me, and I know you alluded to it earlier, that's why you're trying to make these calls, under the the frequently asked questions for the Assistance to Firefighter Grant Program that you applied for, if you look on the second page, bottom question, it asks, are firefighters hired prior to award eligibility under the hiring category? And it says no. So the 4 firefighters that we just hired tonight, reading this, would not be eligible for that.
That's sure.
And that's one of the questions we have to the federal government.
If you want to speak right into the mic.
Sure.
that's one of the questions we have to the federal government, because at the time, obviously, when the grant was submitted, we didn't have these 4 people. So we're trying to get actual start dates from them. Our individuals, the first person that actually worked his first full-time shift was 8/14. So it would be after that day, so we're trying to get the logistics out of the federal government regarding that. The other opportunity there is that we can ask the federal government to look at it, and we can explain to them that during this process, we've hired 4 already. What we need the grant now is 5.
Right. So that, I think, plays a huge role before I personally feel comfortable acting on this. That's a huge question. You know, would they only cover if we had hired an additional another 9 on top of the 4 we hired tonight?
No, it
So that's a question that needs to be, you know, answered.
We share the same concern.
Exactly. Mr. McGrath first.
Just quickly, what was the overtime, department overtime budget last year?
It was over 200, 260.
260, thank you.
Mr. Singer.
Yeah, it's funny, because you had actually allayed all my concerns.
Sorry about that.
Until now, you had to do that to me. So I do agree with the chair that if all of a sudden, and you share that concern, if we get stuck with, well, we have 4, now we gotta get 9 more, it's an issue. My hopes are that they will either give you the 5 additional, or they'll include those 4 for the 9 total. Because financially, if they do include those 4 in the 9 total, then technically, what would it cost us? If we weren't doing this grant and we hired those 4, what would it cost us to employ those 4 for 2 years?
Really said,
We use a figure of between 90 and 100,000 an employee based on salary and their OPEB.
So $800,000.
Right.
So if the grant were to cover those 4, then in effect, right off the bat, we're already saving $800,000, which means you're about $800,000 after that. That means year 3 is already even covered just by the savings from the first year. So, I mean, I'm all for it as long as we can keep it within the 9 total that we're looking at.
You have my absolute 100% word on this operation, that the 4 that we have hired now would be included with the 9. And like I explained, as I was walking us through the process, that I kept talking about the 4 plus the 5 that we would get through the grant. There would be absolutely no way in the world that I would want more than that, those 9 positions total. The 4 that we have plus the 5.
I think it's also great that if we can get them included, the savings alone pays for a whole nother year of service.
Mr. Swenson first.
a few things, Chief, Captain, if I could. Again, thank you for your work on this. Chief, you said the contractual amount for uniforms per year is how much?
The total for all 9 in personnel are $85,500. It's $950 per person, and that's an
Okay.
annual cost.
And again, just to make sure I understand this, the 12.5 and change that it would cost us upon, if we had to let them go, in benefits, is that per firefighter? That's total for all? If we let 5 go, that would be total?
No, it's per person.
It's
Oh,
per.
okay, that was
So that's
12,
62.5,
It's 12.5 per.
yeah.
12.5, so it's over 108,
It's 12.5
whatever.
per position that we would end up, we end up laying off. We
Okay.
do have, the good news about that is, Assistant Chief Mahan is retiring. So the new person that is hiring, that we're hiring for his position would fall under this grant, because it's definitely after the 12th of August, okay? The other positions that we would hire, we do have 2 other people, actually 3 other people that we believe that will be retiring from the department in one way or the other within the next 3 years.
Okay, so and again, you gave me a perfect segue into my next question. So is the award date of the grant August 12th?
That is the award letter date, correct?
Award letter date. So you could make a fair case if the first new hire worked their shift the 14th, 2 days later.
That's the logistics that we.
Yeah, I know, I understood.
Mr. Singer? I'm sorry.
One more if I could. When do we have to accept notify them if we're accepting the grant or not. What's that,
September
what's
12th.
that date, September 12th?
Mr. Singer? Sorry about that.
So
Thank
just
you.
for clarification for those watching, and correct me if I'm wrong, but technically, no matter how you slice it, this is a win-win for the town of Charlton. Because, not that we want to let any firefighters go, but if we get the grant, we can move ahead as planned, the cost savings for the first year alone buy us an additional, either A, an entire third year now of salaries for all these firefighters, just from not paying for the four with the grant, which buys us more time to also increase receivables, et cetera, and manage this. And on the worst case scenario, no one wants to, but if we did have to let firefighters go at the end of the grant, the cost savings from the first year alone more than covers any separation or unemployment we have to pay. So it's a win-win. The town cannot lose on this, really.
There's only if they retire.
Just,
I do have one question.
yes, Ms. Graver.
Just for the people that are at home that went to our town meeting, and you had talked about what it was gonna cost for the 4 additional, could you just remind us what you said we were going to increase your budget at that time
Yeah.
for additional 4 people?
It was, I believe, $120,000 that we increased our budget for our wages line item itself, to hold those 4 people. We believe that the reduction in overtime by 50% and the increase in revenue would be able to offset those monies.
Just one point before Mr. Swenson and Mr. McGrath. Correct me if I'm wrong, does the cost that you laid out, the $90,000 to $100,000 per employee that you're figuring, does that include any insurance or other costs encumbered by the town? I know you mentioned it includes life insurance, retirement, but does that include all the benefits?
It does. It does. It's $40,000 in the grant per firefighter for the Worcester County retirement, the medical insurance, life insurance that the town carries, Medicare, and workers' compensation. And it's known as OPED, O-P-E-D, B.
All right, thank you. Mr. Swenson?
Just a couple more things, Chief, if I could. Just some concerns I have, and I think you know how I feel about the fire department. I wish I could say, go out and do whatever you have to do.
I hear you.
As you know, as we all know, we all live in the reality. Where my concern, and this is yourself and the board as much as anything, I think, the concerns I would have is where we did just increase the budget roughly $120,000 to cover these 4. You know, what you're saying over the course of this grant, there's an additional $85,500 just in uniform. Did I write the?
Correct, $8,500.
So there, you know, is it $8,500?
$8,550.
Okay, oh, $80,
$8,550. It's $950 per
Yeah,
firefighter.
yeah, so let's, if we round up, there's, you know, 10
$10,000.
grand a year in addition just for that. And then without taking into consideration the amount, you know, that it's gonna cost if we have to let them go. And again, I'm not saying that I don't support this. I mean, anything that we can do to get any department, schools, police, fire, highway, any of our departments to full staffing, I think is a great thing. But I just, you know, this is something that I think things that we all have to take into consideration as we're looking at that.
Mr. Singer?
Yeah, just a quick, in response to one of Mr. Swenson's comments. None of us want to let firefighters go, but if I understood this correctly, if we did have to let them go, we would have actually already saved more money during those 2 years by not paying salaries because of the grant, that we actually would come out ahead of the game. So technically, it actually wouldn't be costing the taxpayers money to let them go. The money we save by not paying those 4 firefighters for 2 years, more than it makes up for anything we'd have to pay them for 6 months severance if we had let them go. So the town would be protected in that way.
And that's only as they remain unemployed. I know that there's a gentleman sitting in this room right now that would probably pick them up in about 14 seconds.
If he has the budget.
If he has the budget.
They have
Budget,
deep pockets over there.
Yeah, that's all, yeah.
Captain Knopf?
So I think our risk of having an employee unemployed for this up to 6 months, I think it would be highly unlikely with the experience they would gain in the town of Charlton.
I think even, and as we pointed out, again, even the 6 months, we've saved well more than what that would cost us in the first 2 years alone of not paying their salaries for 2 years.
Captain Knopf?
Well, I was just gonna add on to that is that with the addition to staff, and it's all provided in the documentation that the chief has provided you with, is that we would have a reduction in injuries, IOD claims, because it's proven statistically in these studies that 4- and 5-person crews work more efficiently. Less tasks mean less fatigue, means less injuries. So there's a cost savings, although hidden in that it is tangible.
It's a financial win-win for the town.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Cooper?
I think this is a tremendous opportunity for the town. I look at this as having firefighters' salary with benefits. We're able to reduce the amount of time that would be necessary for responses, reduce wear and tear on our personnel. We need to look at it more than just a financial point of view, but this financial point of view is also very good. As Mr. Singer said, this is a win-win. This is something where I'm not calling it a moneymaker, but I don't think it's a money loser either.
Although, Mr. Chair, there might be more wear and tear on one employee because the chief's gonna have a lot more scheduling to do.
But then the chief will also have another
Oh,
assistant chief.
We delegate that already, so.
Yeah. Mr. McGrath?
Through the chair, I agree with Ms. Cooper and with Mr. Singer, that I believe that this is a win-win for the town. I think the sticking point here right now is exactly what you noted. What is the federal government gonna say about the 4 personnel that we hired? Because if they don't allow us to count the 4 personnel, that kills the whole deal. So we need to get that answer.
Fingers crossed, since they weren't technically hired until days after we got the grant. Fingers
It might be like
crossed. I'm just saying-
14 days, I think it was like.
It's gonna
the number.
depend upon how tight they really hold us
Right.
to the grindstone.
Mr. Swan?
They've felt that they've already seen the need. They understand that there's a need. They've awarded the grant for that because we've justified that need.
Right.
If we meet that need, and it's because of a couple of days,
Mr. Chair.
this money that we're talking
Right.
about is 2015 money. It's not even 2016 money that we're talking about the grant.
Exactly, but I didn't want them to turn around and say, hey, you already funded it during town meeting, you can handle this. You can hire another 9, we'll help you hire that additional 9, so.
Mr. Chair, so
Um,
as a question then, could this board vote to approve going ahead with this with the contingency in there that the chief has the authority, yes, but also if he doesn't hear back what we all want to hear, that it's a no, without having to come back together again, because he's gonna be under a time constraint to make a decision.
Right, so, our next selectment meeting would be September 12th. Also, yeah, I would say that, I would not feel comfortable even making that unless we find out from the federal government what we need to find out and, let finance committee talk to them. But our next selectment meeting would be September 12th, maybe?
Which is too late, he has to notify them by the 12th. If we meet that night, he'd miss the opportunity.
Right.
So
I believe
could
that
do a workshop next week.
what would end up happening is if they say no to the 4 that we've hired, what would end up doing is I would suggest that we resubmit. We ask for the other additional 5 under the grant. If there's a reduction in the $1.7 million, I would expect, but it would get us a little bit further. So it does hinge upon that answer. I totally agree with that. And how we make the motion to make it be somewhat flexible, we need to keep that cognizant.
So can I make a motion then to approve contingent upon the chief hearing the answer we want to hear about the 4 being included? And that if they're not included, that it's not approved to go forward, but to resubmit?
I would ask you to also include approval of the finance committee.
With approval of the finance committee as well, obviously. I can only vote for our board though.
Right. So, but it's just, if you want a
I'll
contingent.
second that.
A motion second. Mr. Swenson, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
We have a protection.
Yeah, no, I don't want to give the impression to the town, the fire department, or the board that I don't support this. It is a great opportunity. I just have gone through enough budget cycles that, you know, that little part of my brain sits back and said, okay, let's look at a cost on this from all aspects. So please don't get the impression that I don't support it. I think it is a win-win. I just want to be clear in my own mind what the potential costs are to us, depending on how this goes. Obviously, the big question is the one we've all talked about. So I would absolutely support the motion with the contingency of approval by Finance Committee, and that if we get a positive, you know, response back from the federal government. I guess my concern is you've got 10 days to get a response from the federal government.
I think he's.
Not that I'm cynical.
Or pragmatic.
Or yeah.
He'll be using his cell phone a lot at night. No, honey, I'm on the phone. Right, but, Mr. Chair, just, again, and for the public watching, there's a lot of talk about finances. But the end result for this is, it only goes through if we hear what we want to hear from the federal government. And if that's the case, there really is no cost to the taxpayer, because they pay for them for 2 years. And if we can't fund them beyond 2 years, the money we've already saved for the first 2 years more than makes up for what we'd have to pay for any severance. So there's really no financial liability to the town.
Right.
It actually would save us money than if we didn't do this.
Right, and I feel comfortable, the Finance Committee Chair is here tonight. I don't want to put him on the spot, but I will offer the opportunity for him to make any comments you'd like to make tonight, or you may, you know, wait till your meeting tomorrow.
I guess my main comment would be is after the grant.
Yeah.
The grant would cover itself, that isn't the problem, but after the grant, we still have to pay these firefighters. And I agree with what they've done. They've done a great job, and I think, I understand the standards, but we still have to pay for it after the grant. That'd be my great concern.
Right, and as Mr. Singer said.
Just the response to that is, after the grant's over, and they'll correct me if I'm wrong, but after the grant's over, we decide to keep them if we can afford to make it work. And if we can't make it work, the money's already there because we didn't pay them for 2 years of service. So
I understand.
right, we've saved manyfold more up front than it would cost us if we didn't retain them.
Captain Knopf first.
I just think that this is an opportunity for us to, for all intents and purposes, use the federal government to show the need and what we can do with the need if it's filled. And it's on the government dime.
Well, we also get $1 million truck, so.
Well, it's about time they do a little bit more good.
Mr. McGrath?
Just
Mrs.
my
Swenson?
last comment, Mr. Singer, I agree with everything you say. I'm glad you're not my accountant, but I agree with what you said.
2 + 2 equals whatever you want it to. There you go.
Especially with depreciation or any of those. Ms. Swenson, do you have any other comments?
No, I think Captain Knopf's point at the end is probably the best point. We do have a chance to roll the dice with the government's chips on the table, so.
Mr. McGrath?
And just to be clear, if we hire these people, okay, and it comes that we have to let the 5 go, say that they let us, that we've hired 4 already, and the town has decided that we can afford to, you know, budget for that. We get the benefit of the federal dime for 2 years with those in the additional 5. At the end of 2 years, if we don't have the money to fund those additional 5, please make sure that they understand that we will lay them off, okay? If the finance committee and the numbers don't work out, you know, we have nothing, you know, no other way to do it. We run extremely tightly,
And
as you well know.
I will also ask during that process, if approved, and make sure that they know that going into the job, that we make sure we're all talking, you know, our board, fire department, finance committee, that we have a pulse on what the town's financial capacity is. So we know ahead of time, so we're not scrambling a week before town meeting, saying, oh, we gotta lay off 5 people. Mr. Singer first, Captain
Just
Knopf.
a comment on if we had to let them go. So if we don't moving ahead with the grant, we're looking at about $100,000 a year, so times 4, so $800,000 is what it's gonna cost us. If we go through this, it's $1.7 million, and we have to let 5 firefighters go and it's over, we're only on the hook for 6 months,
Right.
which is a fraction of the 800,000. So
62.5.
basically,
Right.
if we don't do it, it costs us $800,000 the
Right.
same period of time. If we do it and have to let them go, it costs us significantly less money.
Right. Captain Knopf first.
So the question is,
Go ahead,
pay?
go ahead.
Want to pay more up front or less later?
And that's why I'm deferring to the finance committee to double check our calculations.
Rick, I can get the abacus out.
Captain Knopf?
The one thing I would add to that is at the end of the 2-year cycle, the federal government does allow you to resubmit, to retain them. So you can resubmit the grant, which, if that is the case, you can bet your bottom dollar that I will be resubmitting a grant to retain those individuals.
Right. And that actually goes along with just good management practices. But Mrs. Swenson, do you have a comment?
Thank you.
Fall River resubmits their grant every single year, and they get 10
They
million
get it
a
every
year.
year. I couldn't let that last one go.
Basic math.
The fact of the matter is, we hired 4 additional firefighters because we could afford, and town felt that we could afford these additional firefighters, and we're thrilled to have them. The fact of the matter is, it's not gonna pay for itself. It is gonna cost the money, because if we didn't have the grant, we wouldn't be hiring even a 5th, never mind a 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th. So it is gonna cost us an additional $10,000 a year to have these firefighters on. I don't see any other way of looking at it. Now, that being said, is it worth $10,000 a year to have 5 additional firefighters? I would vote that in a heartbeat. But I think we have to look at it realistically. It will cost us, where town meeting just gave us $120,000 roughly to hire these 4. It's gonna be another $10,000 per year minimum on top of that if we were to hire these firefighters.
Mr. Doble, did you have something to say?
And the $10,000 is for all 9.
It's for all 9, I understand that. I
So we've already
understand.
committed to 4,000.
Right.
If we
So
add
it'd
to
be an additional 5,000 roughly, 5.
Correct.
Okay, fair point, good point, Chief, thank you. So,
Mr. Chairman, so if we don't do the grant, the first 2 years cost us $800,000. If we do the grant and let 5 firefighters go, what would our 6-month financial commitment be?
62, yeah, 62.
So if we don't move ahead with the grant and take on all these firefighters, it's an $800,000 cost to the town.
I thought it would be only 240 because it's $120,000 a year.
4 times 100,000 per, right? I thought it was our total cost.
They
No.
did 160.
160?
100,000 per individual.
Right, so you're looking at 800,000 over 2 years. 4 at 100,000 per year times 2 years is 8.
Right, but I thought we increased our salary line item by $120,000 this year.
The salaries, not the benefits.
Oh,
We did
okay,
not put
okay.
the benefit
Yep.
dollar,
So the
the
cost of the
benefits
town-
don't go into our
Okay.
budget.
Yep.
So the cost of the town, if we don't do the grant, is 800,000. If we do the grant and have to let them go, the cost of the town is 60,000. We're not even on the same.
Plus the 10,000 for.
Plus the 10, which at that point is negligible. You're talking
I-
60,000 versus almost over three-quarters of a million.
Right.
I think the point lies now where we agree that if they'll cover those 4, that it's
Right.
a good deal for the town.
And
If
then
they won't,
it then
then-
comes back to what the
Then,
federal
if we have
government
to
says.
resubmit or whatever it is.
So the motion on the floor right now is
The
to
motion
approve
is
the
to-
grant
For 9?
With the
for 9 officers with confirmation from the federal government that the 4 we just hired be included with it,
And from
and
town.
also the approval of the finance committee.
Right, and then and the motion included that if we didn't get what we want to hear from the federal government, that would negate the approval and they would resubmit for a lower amount.
Correct. Does everyone agree on
That
the
was
language
my
of that
session.
motion?
Yes.
And we have a second on that motion. Any further discussion on that motion?
Make it so.
Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion passes.
Thanks again for your work on
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Thank you.
very much. And thank you for your support, like usual.
And we appreciate, especially, when we grill you like this, we appreciate how professional, how prepared you are, so thank you again.
Thank you for all the background.
Did the new scope go out to Southbridge?
It did.
It did
Yes.
go, I was looking at,
Yes. They worked quite an extensive time on the fire out there.
They were there for 8, 9 hours.
really.
Yep. They did a great job. The truck worked perfectly.
Awesome.
Yeah, the truck worked perfectly, so. Nice.
Awesome.
To say something else, no, that's all.
Thank you, federal
Thanks.
government.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and that's very rare that we ever say that.
Steve's jealous.
So,
Just want to know, like, search can make it very
oh,
Can I interview the candidates?
I'll defer to the chief.
For a fee? For a sitting fee?
Thank you again. All right, with that, we are finished with old business. We'll move on to community reports and policy reviews. Does anyone have any community reports or policy reviews?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Cooper?
I went to the Mass Municipal Association visit that they had last week.
Mm-hmm.
We had a wonderful conversation presenting some issues that we think are of concern to the town. We had representatives from the planning board, the finance committee, the recycling committee, and the select board. And we discussed everything from unfunded mandates and school budgets to bridges and sidewalks and anything in between that came up, and had a very productive meeting.
All the fun stuff. Thank you for attending.
I wanted to attend and I couldn't break away, but thank you.
It's tough.
It is tough.
Anything else? Seeing none, we'll move on to the town administrator's report. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Municipal aggregation plan. At the board's June 7th meeting, you voted to submit the aggregation plan to DPU for approval. We've been notified that they'll be holding a public hearing on our plan September 14th at 2 in their offices at 1 South Station, 5th floor in Boston. It was recommended to have myself and Jean Ferrari, our town accountant, attend. I would invite selectmen as well. Open space plan, as you know, we are updating our open space plan. I met with CMRPC's representative to provide needed information for the plan.
And just to interject myself real quick and ruin your flow, there are plans online, there are questionnaires online in the selectman's office,
Yes.
in the library and the senior center for the community to offer their voice in that. So I encourage anyone still watching and listening to do that.
It is a very important process that we go through. It doesn't just sit on the shelf. It helps direct us when we're starting to look for capital, where to spend capital monies and when, you know, around special open space. The next I have is the $200,000. Monday, August 8th, I met with representatives from DEP regarding the $200,000 grant for water planning. The water controller, Kevin Pecos, joined us and relayed that the Water Sewer Commission's goal of becoming a consecutive water system. Mr. Pecos is working on the water master plan. CDBG grant, we are gearing up for another CDBG grant for improvements to the town hall and affordable housing. We are working on providing you with names of residents who are interested in joining the Citizen Community Development Committee, and we shall work to set up public hearings on possible projects. The police contract has been completed and distributed. Cell tower, the chief and I, Chief Purvier and I met with the low bidder for the cell tower, and I am continuing to review that project. We're hoping to negotiate a contract to bring this for your consideration shortly. Planning assistance towards housing grant, the PATH. We've been notified by the Department of Housing and Community Development that the town has been awarded $10,000 in planning assistance towards housing funds to create a market study for senior housing production. The funds will fund a kickoff meeting, senior housing market study, and an analysis of site feasibility. And lastly, Maya, our workers' compensation payroll audit for FY16. We've been notified by Maya that, as usual, at the end of every fiscal year, they will be conducting a payroll audit to determine each member's final workers' compensation payrolls. This process will begin in the next few weeks, and they will be meeting with our finance staff to gather what they need.
Thank you, Ms. Kramer. Does anyone have any questions for the town administrator? Seeing none, we'll move to other business. Does anyone have any other business announcements, bad jokes unknown at the time of posting? Seeing none, we will then, our next meeting will be on September 13th and we'll be going to executive session, and we'll be exiting executive session solely for purpose of adjournment. Mr. Swenson?
Just one last thing, I hope to see everyone for the fireworks Saturday.
Absolutely.
Labor Day
How can we fit Old
weekend.
Home Day, the 120th
20th.
anniversary or celebration.
There's one other thing too, that these are the lights for the little outhouses at the fireworks.
Why do you have them?
Well, we're gonna put them in there when we get the outhouses.
You, Mr. Chair, you had scheduled, we had scheduled 4 quarters, and you had chosen dates to meet with the EDC, and I noticed that next week is one of those planned sessions. Do you wish me to move forward and contact EDC to try to set that meeting up?
I would feel comfortable if we pushed that to our September 13th meeting, see if they would meet before our regular meeting on that date. But that's good for everyone.
I think we have some of us have a clerical meeting. Nope, okay.
Thank you. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath.
I make a motion that we enter executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Number 1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health, rather than the professional competence of an individual, or discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. And number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on negotiating position of the public body. And are there some particulars?
Ms. Craver? Are there any particulars that we need to?
Meet in executive session.
Yes, my contract.
Yeah, so we're talking about the town administrator's contract.
Okay, so that would be the reason.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you for the motion and the 2 seconds. And the chair does declare that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiation position of the public body. Any discussion on going to executive session? Seeing none, we'll move to a roll call vote. Mr. McGrath?
Aye.
Ms. Cooper?
Aye.
Mr. Swenson?
Aye.
Mr. Singer?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and we are now in executive session at 8:25 PM, and we'll be exiting executive session solely for the purpose of adjournment. Once again, our next regular meeting will be September 13th, and make sure you go to Old Home Day on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. With that, good night.
So, Shrewsbury Street, and Worcester can do it for an Italian festival, but we can't do it for a major, momentous occasion for our town. And it's perfectly legal.
I'm printing off a copy.